And welcome to the next edition of Chocobo Chasers. I am G. Joining me today are the Chocobros, Eric and Dash. And in addition, joining us today, we are going back to back with Baldur's Gate 3 guests. We are lucky enough to be joined by Thomas Mitchells, who voices Klaus the Clown, who you may encounter in Act 3 of Baldur's Gate, but who also worked on the project as one of the voice directors. In addition to working on Baldur's Gate, Thomas has also worked on Dying Light 2, Stay Human, Expeditions Rome, as well as other voice acting credits. Thomas, it is so awesome to have you on the show today.
Great, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Uh, Dash, or sorry, Eric, why don't you go ahead and just get us kicked off with questions here?
Yeah, Thomas, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it a lot. So for Baldur's Gate 3, there were actually a lot of voice directors involved with the project. So how does that actually come about for, because we don't know a whole lot about the behind the scenes stuff. Is there just like sections of the game broken up for each voice director? Or is it just at one point in time someone has to move on and they need to get somebody else going because they have to move on to other projects?
Well, it is a very good question. Yeah, I think in terms of my experience, Baldur's Gate 3 was probably the most voice directors that we've ever had on a team. Obviously, the size of the game, the scope of the game, nearly 2 million words in a script. You're going to need a lot of people to be able to get it all done within a certain time frame. And yeah, like the way it basically sort of came about was just because of the scale. The scale, if you kept it to two or three voice directors, it would take such a long time for recordings to happen, and we're talking like ridiculous hours. And whereas spreading that work across the board, in fact, I think I've got the list of voice directors here actually on my laptop. I had it ready. So we've got like, including me, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, 14 voice directors
Wow.
that were involved in Baldur's Gate. And also Josh Whedon as well, who was the lead voice director. And Beth Park. So yeah, we're talking like 16 in total. But yeah, it's just because the sheer volume of lines that needed to be recorded, the sheer scale of dialogue, it was an all hands on deck experience. I was with the project for a good 3 years. So when it first started, the workload was a little bit lighter because when I started, I mean when I first started, I was doing point and click lines, and so like these boots have seen everything, all of those kind of lines that happen in the game. Um, it's a funny story about Neil Newman. I've got actually, which I'll talk about that later. But yeah, like it was very much a bit more controlled and a little bit more sporadic as the sessions were kind of separated. And then when it came to Larian going, "Hey, we've got a release date now," they just decided to go, "Here we go. Here are all the lines. We need to get all these done." So we needed a lot of people on board. Um, yeah, but like in terms of a voice director, in terms of like how it works behind the scenes, the voice director's main job effectively is to oversee the entire session. So it's a very collaborative process anyway. But when we're in production, you'll have the actor in the volume, in the mocap suit with the headset on, microphone attached to their head. And then you have on the other side of the glass, you'll have the voice director, you'll have the performance director who oversees the movement and the gesturing. You also have our mocap engineer who oversees the technical aspect of motion capture, and then you have the sound engineer who deals with the technical aspect of the voiceover. So yeah, quite common. You'd have four people looking through the glass at this poor actor who just wants to act, and then they're being told all these different rules by four different people. But the voice director is sort of the conduit, if you like, of all of the notes that are being given, and just making sure that the actor's comfortable and that the crew are comfortable, and that if there are any problems, they're dealt with pretty sharpish. So yeah, you're sort of like, I don't want to say you're the manager of the session because that makes me seem like I'm the leader, but I'm not the leader. I'm just the person that sort of goes, okay, I'm going to make the executive decision. Let's move on to the next line, shall we? Or we'll come back to that later. Yeah, best job in the world. Best job in the world.
That's actually kind of a perfect segue into Dash's first question.
Yep. With Baldur's Gate 3 having 3 years in early access, I imagine there was a lot of feedback for you on the voice acting side of things. So how did that feedback help from those early access segments to help improve like the finished product and the subsequent acts?
Oh, a ton. Well, we worked very, very closely with Larian. So I worked for an outsourced company called Pit Stop Productions. That was who I worked under, and they were in partners with Larian Studios to get this dialogue done. So Larian would be the one to take on all of that feedback from early access over the years, and that would then feed on to cinematics, animation, the writing team being incredibly important to these characters that everyone is invested in now. And that did influence things. I mean, you can see differences. If you looked at early access gameplay and you looked at certain characters, things were very different. I mean, Will got a complete rewrite. Karlak got a complete rewrite. I think the most amount of changes that happened in a small time within like feedback, Will was an enormous change. I think they just wanted him to be a lot more wholesome and less, it was almost like he was a little bit of like a Zorro type character, a bit of a cavalier, and I think they wanted to pull that back and make him a little bit more vulnerable and genuine. And he's the Blade of Frontiers because he's the Blade of Frontiers, but he's also got this pact which really shows the sacrifice he made for Baldur's Gate, and this estrangement that he had with Duke Ravengard and all of that business. I think that was the most interesting change that I experienced based on the early access changes. There are a lot of things that stayed the same, and we were able to grow with them as time went on. Things changed internally as well because we felt things went in a better direction with certain things. Like Karlak as well. Like Karlak was very different to Mama K that she is now. I mean, I know you interviewed Sam recently, I think.
Yeah.
And bless them, they really got the whole package of what it's like to act in Baldur's Gate 3, but in such a condensed amount of time because they joined the project so late in development in comparison to the rest of the origin characters.
Right.
So they were given the baptism of fire, quite literally, with the internal engine. But yeah, the feedback that we would have to sort of work and tinker with in order to try and decide exactly who Karlak is and how different they were from the previous written Karlak that we did have. Fascinating stuff. I mean, I've never come across anything like it. Something in early access for so long, where they really listen to the fan feedback and adjust accordingly. It was incredible just seeing the different changes that happened throughout the years.
Absolutely.
Also, Dash, is that Pitbull in the background?
Yes.
You got a Pitbull flag and a cushion.
Yeah, it's a running joke. I just always say like I look like Pitbull because I'm bald. Heck, I'm even wearing my sexy bald guys shirt.
It was like for a second I was like, wow, Dash is really he's really into himself. He's got a flag of himself up on the wall, and then after a while I saw the soul patch and went, no, that's Pitbull. Wow, he's a big fan.
I love my role as a Pitbull doppelganger.
Yeah, you're not the only person to ask about that as well. I think Sam actually asked about it too. So
it's what I like to have in the background because it's a conversation starter. It gets people's attention.
It's a great icebreaker. It worked.
Awesome. So Thomas, we have to ask, what race or class did you end up going with for your first playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3? Or did you, if you did go ahead and design your own tab, or did you end up playing as one of the origin characters?
Oh, well, I went for a Tav. So I created a Wood Elf Ranger called Astrid, because I wanted to talk with animals, speak with animals. I needed that 100% because in case people haven't, I mean, I'm sure everyone's seen it on social media, but if you don't have speak with animals constantly, you will miss out on so many little things with all of the animals in the game. Sure, it's great to have potion of animal speaking, but if you have it with you constantly, it opens up so many things and so many opportunities. And again, like it reminds you, oh my god, a person had to voice this animal, this little throwaway character. I think it's Sean Mendham who is Scratch, for instance. Like people are absolutely adoring Scratch, and when you see like how people are so invested in the fact that they voiced this dog with such lovely lines, you go, yeah. And there's so many other animals out there in the world. You've also got Aliena Baranova, who is Corinna the squirrel, and then Beth Park, who was one of the casting directors and voice directors, my mentor, who brought me and welcomed me with open arms into this project when I first started. She's also the voice of the squirrel you can kick in the face. So, yeah, no. So, yeah, 100% had to go with the Wood Elf Ranger. I wanted something like a little bit different, and I liked the athletics of it, and you know, I like ranged weapons as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, Astrid's great with a bow. Oh God, brilliant. And also I went with the voice. Oh God, I can't remember what number she is, but I went with Emerald, who was one of the Tav voice actors. So if you select a Tav in the game, each voice you can pick is a different actor. I made a post about it somewhere on Twitter. Well, it's called X or whatever.
It'll always be Twitter.
Whatever Elon decides to call it next. Whatever Elon's breakdown is called next. On there, I did a little shout out to them, but they are all wonderfully varied voices. And Emerald, I just went. I worked quite a lot with Emerald on her Tav lines throughout the project. So as a first playthrough on release, I went, okay, well, yeah, it's got to be Emerald for me. So I actually designed a character around Emerald's voice that I thought would really suit it. And I'm really glad I did, because yeah, I get to enjoy Emerald living and breathing amongst all of the Origin characters in the world.
That's awesome. Eric, you want to go ahead and follow that up?
Yeah, sure. So you said on X Twitter that that Baldur's Gate 3 was your beginning of like directing career for that. And now since then you stacked up a few nice credits with Jagged Alliance, or Dying Light 2, Expeditions Rome, a few others. What made you take the dive to switch from behind the mic to trying to like push the person who is behind the mic in the direction you want to go?
I was very, very lucky. So the job of director in video games just happened completely by luck and circumstances. So I am an actor first and foremost. I've worked in theatre for years. The reason why my diary with you lot was so difficult is because I'm touring around the UK right now with a theatre show, with the Buddy Holly story, if anyone's interested.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so and I when COVID hit and theatre went complete lockdown, and I was trapped in my flat in Twickenham, which I no longer live at now. I'm in Southampton, so Cruise Ship City is where I live now. And Pit Stop happened to catch me at the right time. They contacted me saying, "Hey, I think we could potentially work together. Do you fancy having an interview and a chat with us about the work you've done and whether or not you'd fit into our line of work?" So 100%, I went, yes, absolutely. I love working in video games as an actor. Working as a director sounds fantastic. And I'm so glad I did, because I knew that predominantly I did just think it was going to be Baldur's Gate that I would work on. But then Pit Stop was so kind to hand me some other projects along the route. So Expeditions Rome, I think, was the second game I ever worked on. Red Solstice 2 was another one that was predominantly my first baby, if you like, because I was pretty much the sole director on that for a long time. And it just hopped from there on in. I mean, I'm a freelancer voice director now, so I work with quite a number of different studios just when the work comes in, because I come from a very empathetic side of things when it comes to actors, because I've been there, I've done it myself, so I know what they're going through. I know what the thought process is in terms of having to play pretend and really open yourself up and do some silly shit in a very clinical looking room, you know. Some of the stuff you have to do in voiceover is weird. Some of the stuff you have to do in motion capture is weird. Performance capture, weird. So being able to remind the actor that you can have fun and enjoy yourself, and you know, I mean, they'll probably hate me for saying this, my bosses, but you know, it is that thing of we're making something fun for people. We're not here to do open heart surgery. We're not here to, you know, stop world hunger. We're here to just give a bit of escapism and create something that the player is going to sit down for a bit and enjoy and just have a great time. And so that was sort of the ethos from get go for me, and that's why I love doing it. It's seeing people really enjoy the process of working in video games. It's my favorite industry in the world. It's great. I love it.
Dash, do you wanna go next?
So we already know that Baldur's Gate 3 was a very ambitious project because of the amount of voice work that went into it. So what was the hardest part of it?
Ooh, well, interesting you say voice work, because we also did the motion capture as
Yes.
well.
Yep.
So that it's in itself just added another level of difficulty to everything. With technology, things do go wrong, things do slow down. We we had things like, you know, it's really hot and computers overheat because it's hot. You know, our buildings aren't built very good for, you know, the climate emergency. We're good at cold. We're not good at blisteringly hot. So things like that happen. And the process in doing the voice and motion capture together at the same time, the payoff is great because you do have these wonderful gestures. You don't have just cached animations that are being rehashed again and again. You've actually got living, breathing gestures. But for some actors who are probably just used to just standing in front of a microphone, not really having to be so conscious of their movement, they get thrown into this volume and they're being told, right, okay, so we're going to need you to stand in this way that you've never stood before, where you're going to put your left foot behind you and we're going to put your right foot on this number 2 on the ground here. You're not allowed to move that foot. Whatever you do not move that foot. And yeah, you can also gesture. Think of it as like mask work. You know, you're gesturing while you're talking, but don't do something symmetrical. We don't like symmetry, so don't do that. Also, make sure you come back to your base pose, and also make sure you keep facing the auto cue. Try not to like wander off, and all these rules are being given to the actor right at the beginning of the session, and you just see them going, okay, yeah, all right. And yeah, so when you get people that have never done it before, it is a learning process. It because of the way this was done, for some people it was a lesson in itself in how to conduct yourself in a very technical recording setup. So that was probably the hardest thing, I think, you know, especially when you're working with someone who we worked with some fantastic character actors, Richard Booth being one of them. It's a shout out to him. He's Dribbles the Clown. He did a multiple characters in the game, and sometimes these people, because of the writing setup, they're being made within an hour, 2 hours. They're being made to perform as, you know, 6-7 different characters, and those 6-7 different characters could have varying races. You know, like 1 minute you're a dwarf, 1 minute you're a gnome, then you're a high elf, and then you're a, I don't know, a Meragon, you know, or, you know, you're having to come up with these characters on the fly as you would in a voiceover booth. But then also you have to think of the movement that goes with it in a heartbeat, which is really tricky. But when you've got those wonderful, talented people in there in the booth with you, in there in the volume with you, that's what makes life so much easier. So even though it gets hard, we find our ways around it, and you know, as long as everyone works together as a team, we can get it done, as we have done.
Yeah, it was I really don't have like enough good things to say about the project itself, so you guys definitely accomplished what you were looking to. Eric, do you want to go ahead and follow that one up? It actually kind of ties perfectly into this next segue. So
Yep, actually, I was going to ask you how it was being Klaus and being in the mocap. So you actually got to hop on the other side of it and got to I mean, the whole circus act in Act 3 is just a very memorable part of the game. And it's just very zany, and it's just something that's kind of offbeat from the rest of it.
Yeah, big shout out to Rachel Quirk from Larian, who was the writer of quite a lot of the circus stuff. Yeah, it was great fun. I had made it very clear to Josh Whedon that I would love to do something in Baldur's Gate, just give me a cameo. I don't mind. Make me I don't know, a walrus or something. Make me be a voice of an ox. I don't care. Like, just give me something so that I can be like, oh, thank you very much, Natalie. That's my wife, Natalie, by the way.
And
Just give me a coffee.
Hello.
The Chocobo chasers say hi, Natalie. Very, very quick tangent. Natalie is a voiceover agent, and she had
Very nice.
6 of her actors in Baldur's Gate herself.
Oh wow.
So yeah, we're a tight knit duo.
She's
We always say
working.
with the voice, we always say with the voiceover power couple. But yeah, so she's had actors involved in the game as well. People that spring to mind, Maxim Reston, I think, is in it. James Alexander, you might know from Dark Tide. He's the judge in that 40k. So big shout out to old Jamesy boy. Yeah, so it's nice that we've been able to celebrate Baldur's Gate 3 together. We were actually in Belgium when it came out, and we were just sat by a canal drinking beers, just seeing the reviews come in on Metacritic in real time.
Hell
That's
yeah.
awesome.
But yes, enough about my wife. She doesn't matter now. So I'm only joking. Yeah, no. So the circus aspect. So yeah, I was really just, oh god, give me a cameo in something. And I'd worked on a couple of characters already in the circus, so I did a few little circus bits that I directed. So I directed Boney the Mephit. We had Crimson the dinosaur. I directed him, and a bit of Dribbles as well. Richard Booth, Dribbles the clown. When he's telling his jokes, I directed him telling his jokes. And yeah, out of nowhere, Josh found this role that was needing to be cast, and he went, "That just looks like a Mitchell's job, so let's give it to Tom Mitchell's." And yeah, I got to be in a volume in the mocap suit. Can safely say I look fantastic in a mocap suit. I've really got the figure and build for one of those, where the material shows everything, and I definitely suited it. But it was cool. It was so nice because I got to experience what every actor I directed experienced, because I've done work before, but I've not done it in this way. So it was a great way of just understanding the process even more with how the actors feel, because when you are stood there, with everything on show, pretty much with all these markers around you, and understanding the technical aspect because you're going through it yourself, it makes you a better director. Doing these things makes you a better director. So I always think like directors should also consider going to an acting class if they've never acted before in their life, or doing a mocap course or experiencing it, because it makes you understand what goes into that. And so yeah, with Klaus, it was great. It was a lovely 3-hour session where I think I had about 41 lines, I think, and I was being directed by my mates, my friends who I've worked with for so long. So I had Beth Park, voice director, Jake McCormack, who is the lead sound engineer. I had Rogan Shelton, who was the lead mocap engineer, and Aliona Baranova, who was the performance director, Aliona being the squirrel, and also the Jennifer English Shadowheart #1 Stan account.
Yep.
And it was great. It was just amazing that we were making something. We were telling like a small little story of me with Benji, who was performed by Jack Ayres. Yeah, it was so much fun. It was so interesting and fascinating and enjoyable. And then it was a lovely little tie-in, because I was about to go on my honeymoon, so I did that and then went, right, see you later, I'm off on a plane, bye-bye. Well, whirlwind. It was great. Yeah, no, had the best time. Klaus was such a fun character, and I can't wait for Sven at Larian to give him his own DLC in the future. It'd be great to have a real Klaus-oriented campaign. I think he's in search of something. Give him something. Maybe he wants to set up his own circus. Best of luck to Klaus, and I think the fans want more. I think the fans really do.
The Klaus
We
origin
can
story
speak for the
coming soon.
fans. They do.
So you've had the experience to work on some amazing franchises in gaming. Obviously, Jagged Alliance, Baldur's Gate, Dying Light. Is there a franchise, and you even just as a fan, that you would love to work on that you haven't had the opportunity to so far? Has there been something that you've said like, wow, I would really love to be a part of this at some point?
Oh man, I'd love to do a Star Wars IP. I would love to do a Star Wars IP. I think the stuff that's being created at the moment, what Massive are doing. Oh god, it
Yeah.
just looks incredible. And like the Jedi Survivor, the way that they are changing things around. We need some. I'd love to do a Star Wars game, 100%. And when I talk about that franchises, yeah, that one springs to mind. I do remember the sort of cancelled game. They were going to do an Indiana Jones game. Remember years ago they were going to do an Indiana Jones thing where they had the oh god, they had that physics engine Euphoria, and they did a whole tech demo. This is back in like 2005 or something, but I was buzzing because I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. Although I haven't seen the 5th film yet. I really
Neither have I. So you're
yes, yeah. It's on my to-do list, But oh god, a Star Wars game, Indiana Jones game. Yeah, sign me up, 100%.
I'll say there is the Indiana Jones game coming up soon too.
There is, yeah.
Of course there is. Yes.
Yep.
Well, I can talk about it because I'm not in it. So, but yeah. Oh man, yeah. Star Wars is just the stories that are being told right now. It would just
There's just so much of that universe to kind of play with as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But wow, the stuff that Massive are doing at the moment. I mean, I fortunately I've worked with Massive because I worked on the Division 2. So I know that side of Massive. I know a couple of people from that side of the office, if you like, because you probably got one half of desks working on Division 2 and then the other half are working on this Star Wars IP. But oh man, they're just lovely people there. They're just really nice people. And because I know how hard they work. I know how hard they worked on the Division 2 for all these years, that I know that this Star Wars game is going to be in such good hands. So I'm really excited for that one. That's going to be awesome.
Those look very good. Star Wars Outlaws, for anybody who doesn't know what Tom is mentioning. Dash, you wanna come in with our final question?
Yes. So we're gonna move away from Baldur's Gate 3 finally, and just
oh, thank God!
I'm gonna
sick of talking about it.
I'm gonna ask about another project you did, because Jagged Alliance 2 was a big part of my childhood. So with Jagged Alliance 3, what was
I know about this?
Oh yeah. So how was it to finally bring a true successor to Jagged Alliance 2? Because I know we've had the Jagged Alliance games that came out since then, but they didn't capture that same feel that Jagged Alliance 3 did for finally being a true sequel.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of take a little bit of the glory because I didn't do too much work on the actual gameplay of Jagged Alliance. I did some of the characters. I think I did Barry Ungar, I did Red, and I did who was the other one? I think it's Blood. I think I did a couple of the mercs, but then because I ended up on this theatre tour, my diary sort of got a little bit awkward to work around, because a fair few of the Jagged Alliance lot were in the States, and so obviously I would work nights, but I can't do nights because I'm being silly on stage. So eventually we managed to find out a way of still keeping me on board with the project. So that's when it led me to working on some of the marketing material with Brad, who's one of the senior producers at THQ Nordic. So I did like the game's features trailer and the launch trailer with epic voiceover guy himself, John Bailey. Fantastic. And so yeah, to like be able to bring like a true successor. I mean, and it's funny, Dash, like you know you're really wanting something like a proper true successor, and we really worked hard to keep that feel and tone of the 90s, but
Yeah.
modernize it at the same time. It was a real fine balance when working with Haemimont Games in getting enough of the cheesy action movie lines to sort of live and breathe, but it not be too much of a parody. You know, we still wanted to keep it within a sort of a realm of you know, it's not going to get annoying the more times you hear it. And so we worked hard to keep that, and also make them sound like the legacy characters as well. Like that was a real, you know, we were playing clips of to the actors of like the original lines of the, you know, the AIM characters, and then popping them into the 2023. And I knew I succeeded because my eldest brother, he absolutely loved the first Jagged Alliance. He was obsessed with that one, and he went, "Oh my god, I didn't realize you worked on that. I mean, I'm getting it. It's in. You know, bless him. He's a father of two, but he was like, I'm setting the gaming PC back up. I'm getting Baldur's Gate and I'm getting Jagged Alliance 3. Like that's it. I'm not talking to the kids now." So yes, I at least made my brother Dave very happy that I worked on Jagged Alliance as well. So, but yeah, it was so much fun, so much fun. I even did a baller move because I enjoyed it that much that I went screw it and I got the collector's edition box. Yeah, I'm also waiting for my Baldur's Gate 3 one as well. That is on the way as well. So I just you need it for the office studio, you know. So it keeps you inspired. You know, when I'm working on Baldur's Gate 4 in 2054, you know, I can look back at the halcyon days of Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, that's amazing.
It absolutely is.
Well, actually, another question.
Yeah.
Do you have a personal favorite Merc that you got to work with or do on, like, because you were the voice director, correct? No.
Oh yeah, so I really enjoyed I really enjoyed Red actually, by David Lane. Red was a good fun one because I'm a fan of the comedian, the Scottish comedian Billy Connolly, and Red did have an aspect of Billy Connolly within him, and David had a real fun tone to his voice that really just felt like an over the top Billy Connolly, and we just worked with that. So when I was working with him, I just went, just keep thinking of Billy, keep thinking of that. And ironically, I had no influence on casting, but also Natalie, she represents David, so it was another collaboration between the voiceover power couple that is Thomas and Natalie. Yeah, it was great fun because it was hilarious because I'd be up here in the office, Natalie would be working downstairs, and I'd finish directing David, and I'd come down and go, yeah, right, yeah, he was great, he was perfect for the role, he was brilliant. So yeah, like Red was great. Barry Ungar as well was another firm favorite. Just constantly obsessed with explosives. I mean, that's you know, that was basically Jagged Alliance 3 in a nutshell. It was just each one had an obsession with something. I mean, Blood was obsessed with throwing knives and cooking.
Yep. That's what made Jagged Alliance 2 so great, because all these mercenaries had these unique personalities. You even had like, this mercenary hates this guy, so you can't have them on the same team.
Yeah. Although I've got Jagged Alliance 3 myself, and I am so bad at it. I'm just I had to like full on like sit down and go, right, I need YouTube, do your thing, explain this concept to me, because I keep hemorrhaging money and everyone keeps dying and I can't get more work. So please, for the love of God, show me the light. Where do I go next? What do I do? Yeah, but it's great. I loved it. It was a real fun project to work on.
Awesome. Well, Thomas, I think that is actually all of the questions that we had for you. We also wanted to give you a chance to kind of plug in any projects or anything, I guess, that you can talk about. Obviously, the life of an actor is full of a lot of NDA, things like that. So if there was anything you kind of wanted to plug in, please feel free to go ahead and do so.
Well, you can follow me on Instagram at #Mitchells, where I quite often talk about my projects that I can talk about, and I release them and little tidbits. I also have X, Elon Musk's breakdown company. That is I am Tom Mitchells, and if you follow me on those things, if you watch this space, within the next few days, I have a game that's coming out where I was one of the supporting roles. It was one of the greatest acting experiences I've ever had, because it was one of my favorite characters I ever worked on. It's something very, very different to what I've normally done with video games. Usually people have me like as a soldier or, some elf. But this was something really like gritty and hardened and quite emotional at times as well. So if you keep a lookout on my social media, within the next few days, hopefully you want to buy the game because I'm in it. That'd be
Awesome.
nice.
We'll be sure to link it when we go ahead and post the episode. Well, Thomas, I speak for all of us. This has been so fun. We love getting to talk with actors and this was a very unique perspective, especially from your side of directing things, and we love to get to know this space more because we are just such huge fans of the gaming industry. So we want to thank you, one, and two, we are excited to see what you're working on, especially here in the short term. We get to find out here in a few days what your next big project is.
Great, thank you for having me as well. Honestly, it's been really, really fun just talking things games, and it hasn't gotten old yet. I think Natalie's definitely sick of me talking about it, but it's just we're just all bursting with pride and also relieved as well that BG3 is just gone above and beyond in performing how we ever thought it could. So
Right.
to be able to like talk with people and celebrate it and celebrate the people that worked on it, and thank you as well for wanting to celebrate all aspects of video gaming. It's really nice, and people really appreciate that acknowledgement of the people that work on it. So just very quickly while I'm here, a big massive shout out to Josh Whedon, Beth Park, Adrian Townsend, Kirsty Gilmore, Tilly Steele, Natalie Winter, Jay Moriarty, Bronya Deutsch, Keith Higginbottom, Alicia Grace Torrell, Alexandra Morris, Sam H. Freeman, Jake McCormack, Joshua Jack Hines, Chris Tolley, Gabriel Zanana, Aliana Baranova, Asher Jennings Grant, Holly Wedaway, Charles Douglas, Sasha Plage, Fraser Blacksland, Connor Neves, Nicoletta Banani, Ioli Philippakopoulou, Josh Witchard, for all helping in directing Baldur's Gate 3.
Awesome.
And for the people at home, he memorized all those names. He didn't
all
read
of
them.
Yeah, I didn't read them out. I promise. They were all. I rehearsed it. Yeah.
All right. Anything else you'd like to mention, Tom, before we go ahead and we end today?
Well, yeah, if this goes out in the next few days, if you're based in the UK, I am High Pockets Duncan / the Everyman in the Buddy Holly story. It's going to be my last venture in theatre for a while because I want to work in video games. So if you'd like to come see me in the last part of my tour, feel free. If you want to come to the stage door, say hi, buy me a beer. I'm all up for that. But if not, keep playing games and keep having fun.
Awesome. And with that, we will go ahead and we'll call this episode. I hope everybody has enjoyed, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Have a good one.